我们大家以一颗虔诚恭敬的心，向佛陀礼敬3拜，顶礼，再顶礼，3顶礼。请翻开晚课，晚课是16页。Yosu bhagava arahang samma sambuddho swavakhato yena bhagavata dhammo supatipanno yasa bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Dhammayang bhagavantang sadhammang sasanghang ime isagare yatharahang arobite abhibhujayama Sadhu no pande bhagava sujira pariniputopi Pachima janata nugamba manasa ime sagare tugata panagara bhute patiganhatu amhagandi garatang hitaya sukaya 那位世尊是阿罗汉正等正觉者。法是彼世尊所善说，彼世尊的弟子僧团是善行道者，以此供品，我们虔诚恭敬的敬奉于世尊、法以及僧。善哉尊者，虽然世尊般涅盘已久，但祈请世尊出以悲悯后人之心，接受这些供品，以让我们得到长恒的利益，以安乐吧。Arahang samma sambuddho bhagava Buddhang bhagavantang abhivademi 世尊是阿罗汉正等正觉者，我礼敬佛陀世尊。Swavakhato bhagavata dhammo dhammang namasami 法乃世尊所善说，我礼敬法。Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Sanghang namami 生且世尊之声闻弟子是上行道者，我礼敬生且。Annamayam buddhasa bhagavato pupapaganamagarangaro mase Namo dassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo dassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo dassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa 现在让我们来礼赞佛世尊。南无无上正等正觉的佛世尊阿罗汉。南无无上正等正觉的佛世尊阿罗汉。南无无上正等正觉的佛世尊阿罗汉。 Andhamayam Buddha Nusatina Yangaromase Dangko Bana Bhagavantang Ewang Garayano Kiti Sato Apukato Iti Biso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vijajarana Sambano Sukato Lokavitu Anutaro Burita Dhamma Sarati Satha Deva Manusanam Buddho Bhagavati。 现在让我们来念诵佛随念的方法。世尊的圣名广为流传，世尊是如此阿罗汉正等正觉者，明行具足者，上士世间解，无上士调御丈夫，天人师佛世尊。Andhamayan Buddha Bhikitingaro Mase Buddha Varahanda Varata Diguna Biyuto Sutta Biyana Karuna Isamakatato Bote Siyo Sujanatang Gamalang Wasuro Wanda Mahanda Maranan Sirasajinetang Buddho yo savabanenang saranang kemmamutamang Batamanusati dhanang vandamitang sirenahang Buddha sahasamira soa Buddho me sami kisaro Buddho dukasa gata javitata jaidasame Buddha sahaniya demi sariran jivitam jitang Vandandohang jarisami Buddha sewa supotitang Nati me saranang anyang Buddho me saranang warang Etena saja wajena Vateyang satu sasane Buddha me vandamanena Yambunyam basutang ita Sape bi andaraya me Mahin sutta sate jasa。 现在让我们来礼赞佛陀。佛陀拥有阿罗汉等诸功德，及清净大智以大悲语一生。他让善事觉醒，犹如阳光让莲花绽放。我俯首礼敬这无争者、胜利者。佛陀是所有众生最安稳的归依处。我俯首礼敬这第一项的随念处。我是佛陀的布施，佛陀是我的主人，佛陀是众苦的摧毁者，为我带来利益与安乐。对于佛，不愿奉献此身体与生命，我将奉行对善觉知佛陀的礼敬。以我并无其他皈依处，佛陀是我至上的皈依处。以此真实语，愿我在导师的教法中成长。以此礼敬佛陀的功德，愿一切险难止息。
无论于生与凡是我对佛陀所做的任何而言，愿佛陀接受我的礼作，未来我会对佛陀恭敬谨慎。
Annamayang Dhammanusatena yang garomase Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Santitiko Agaliko Ehibasiko Obanaiko Bachatang Vetidapo Vinyuhiti。现在让我们来念诵法谁念的方法。世尊所上妙宣说之法，是可亲自见证，无实的可邀人来见证，导向涅槃的，由知者们各自证知的。Annamayang Dhamma Bhikitingaromase Swakatatati Guna Yoga Vasena Seyo Yoma Gavaga Variyati Vimoga Peto Dhammo Guru Gavatana Tadathari Thari Vandamaham Dhamara Varathamma Metang Dhammo yo sababhaninam saranam kemamutamam Duttiyanusati dhanam vandamitam sirenaham Dhamma sahasamira soha Dhammo me samigisaro Dhammo tukasakata javidata jaidasame Dhamma sahaniya demi sariran jivitam jitam Vandandoham jarisami Dhamma sewa sudhamatam Nati me saranang anyam Dhammo me saranang warang Etena sajawajena Vateyam satu sasane Dhammam me vandamanena Yam bunyam vasutang hita Sape vi andaraya me Mahe sunda sate jasa。现在让我们来礼赞法。法是殊胜的，具有世尊善说等诸功德，可分为道以果、教理以解脱。法护持奉行法的人，免堕二道。我虔诚的礼敬卓越的法，黑暗的摧毁者为我带来。法是所有众生最安稳的归处。我俯首礼敬这第二项的邪念处。我是法的普世，法是我的主人，法是众苦的摧毁者，为我带来利益与安乐。对于法，我愿奉献此身体与生命。我将奉行对法义真理的礼敬，与我并无其他皈依处。法是我至上的皈依处，以此真实语，愿我在导师的教法中成长。于此礼敬法的功德，愿一切险难都止息。
无论于圣语，凡是我对法所做的任何恶业，愿法接受我的恶作，未来我会对法恭敬谨慎。
Annamayang sanghanusatena yang garomase Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅkho Ujjupatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅkho Yayapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅkho Samicipatipanno bhagavato 萨瓦嘎桑科。雅蒂当扎达里布里萨尤嘎尼阿塔布里萨布嘎拉。เอสาภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุเนยโยบาหุเนยโยทักขิเนยโยอัญจลิการณิโยอนุตตรังปุญญเขตังโลกัสสติ现在让我们来赞颂及谁念生劫之功德。生劫世尊的弟子是善行道者，生劫世尊的弟子是正直行道者，生劫世尊的弟子是如理行道者，生劫世尊的弟子是正当行道者，他们即是世双八辈人。这生劫世尊的弟子值得供养，值得殷勤礼敬，值得布施，值得合掌敬礼，是世间无上的福田。Annamaya sangha bhikitingaro mase satamajo supatipati gunadiyuto yodabito ariya pukara sangha seto silatitama bhavara sayakaya cito Vandamaham dhamariyana ganang susutang Sangho yo sababaninang saranang kemamutamang Tatiyanu vandamitang sirena Sangha sahasamira soa Sangho me samikisaro Sangho tukha sakata javitata jahidasame Sangha sahaniyate mi sariran jivitan jitang Vandando hanjarisami Sangha sobhatibanatang Nati me saranan anyang Sangho me saranang warang Etena sajawacena Wateyang satu sasane Sangham me vandamanena Yambunyam basutang ita Sape bi andaraya me Mahesutta satejasa 现在让我们来礼赞生劫由正法而生，有善于行道等诸德行。无上生劫由世双八辈圣者组成，以戒律与法来引导其身心。我礼敬那群清净的圣众。生劫是所有众生最安稳的归依处。我俯首礼敬这第三项的谁念处。我是生劫的布施，生劫是我的主人。生劫是众苦的摧毁者，为我带来利益与安乐。对于生劫，我愿奉献此生体与生命。我将奉行对生劫善修的崇敬，与我并无其他皈依处。生劫是我至上的皈依处，以此真实语，愿我在导师的教法中成长，以此礼敬生劫的功德。愿一切险难都止息。
无论你生于凡是我对生前所做的任何一点，愿生前接受我的认同。未来我会对生前恭敬谨慎。
大家请。接下来请翻开第 47页，因常思维之无法。Annamaya apina baca vegana batang banamase Jara dhammo hi jarang anatito Bayanti dhammo hi bayanti anatito Marana dhammo hi maranang anatito Sapehi me biyehi mama behi nana bhavo vina bhavo Gamma sakohi gamma dayato gamma yoni gamma bantu gamma bhati sarano Yanga mangari sami karayana wapa bhagangwa Dasadayato bhavisami Ewa amehi apinam pacake kitapang 现在让我们来诵念因常思维之无法。衰老是自然的法则，我并不能超越衰老。病苦是自然的法则，我并不能超越病苦。死亡是自然的法则，我并不能超越死亡。我所拥有的一切，不论是喜欢或珍惜的，最后将会与我们背离或分散的。我是业的主人，是自己业的继承人，由自己的业而生，是自己业的亲主，依自己的业的滋生而活。无论我造何种业，善的或恶的，我们必将去承担。我们应当时时如此思维及反省。接下来翻开第50页，无常的醒思。Annamaya anijanusati batang banamase Sape sankhara anicca Sape sankhara dukkha Sape dhamma anatta Atuvan jivitang Tuvan maranang Awan samaya maritapang Maranam bariyo sanam me jivitang Jivitam me aniyatang Maranam me niyatang Wada ayangayo Ajirang Abeda vinyano Chuto Adisesati Batawi Garinggarang Iwa Niratang Anicca vada sankhara Upadawaya dhammino Upajitawa niruchanti Desa upasamo sukho 现在让我们来醒思无常。诸行无常，诸行是苦，诸法无我，生命不是永恒的，死亡却是恒久的。我将会死，那是必定的。生命的终结即是死亡，生命是如此不定，死亡却是肯定的。的确，这个身体不久的将来没有了时，舍弃了，也会躺在这里，埋在地下，如同一块朽木般无用。一切因缘和合法行皆是无常的，生起与灭去是其本质，生起之后必定会灭去。一切因缘和合法的寂灭是了。接下来翻开第31页，回向许愿文。 An Dhamaya Uti Sanatithana Gata Yobhanamase Imena Bunya Gamena Upachaya Gunutara Ajariyo Bhagaracha Mata Pita Jayataka Suriyo Jandi Maharaja Unna Vandana Rapicha Ramadaraja Indacha Loga Balacha Devata Yamomita Manusaja Majata Verika Bicha Sape Sata Sukhi Honto Bunyani Pakata Nimme Sukan Jati Vitam Dentu Kipang Bape Tawo Matang Imina Bunya Kamena Imina Utisenacha Kipahang Surapecewa Danhu Badana Cedanang Yesandamna Hinadhamma Yawani Panado Mamang Nasando Sabata Yewa Yata Jato Pawe Pawe Ucho Chitang Sati Banya Saleko Viriyang Hina Marala Pando Nogasang Kato Javiriye Sume Uttati Pawaro Nato Dhammo Nato Varutamo Nato Paceka Puto Cha Sangho Nato Taro Mamang Deso Dhammanupavena Maloga Sanglapantuman。现在让我们来回向许愿，愿于此功德，回向于对我有大恩德的戒师、师长、恩人、父母亲及一切亲属，日神、月神，具足崇高德行的人，梵天、摩罗、因陀罗，会世间的天神众，夜摩天及一切人类，不管是亲密的、不相识的，以及是冤仇的人，愿他们快乐。愿我所得之功德带来三种乐：现世、来生及解脱。愿心愿能早日实现。愿以此福业以回向的功德，使我能诉出心中的和爱以直取。在我还未达到正悟涅槃之前，愿我任何不好的素质得消除。每一生每一世，不管我生在何处，愿我以殊胜的自心、正念及智能及精进，铲除一切的烦恼，恶魔不再有任何机会趁机破坏我的精进了。佛陀是我昨夜的归依处，佛法是我至上的归依处，必知佛及生前是我殊胜的归依处。凭着他们无比的魅力，摩罗不再有任何机会了。我们的晚课就做到这里结束，我们先一起礼佛。再顶三顶
Let us bow 3 times to Ajahn. First bow, second bow, and third bow. Good evening, Ajahn. We would like to request the 3 refuges and 5 precepts. Could you lead us?
Yes,
We will chant the Mayang Pante first.
please go ahead.
Mayang Pante Ti Saranena Saha Atha
Silani
Yachama Tutiyampi Mayang Pante Ti Saranena Saha Silani Yachama Tatiyampi Mayang Pante Ti Saranena Saha Silani Yachama.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa.
Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Dhammang saranang gacchāmi.
Dhammang saranang gacchāmi.
Sanghang saranang gacchāmi.
Sanghang saranang gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Tutiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchāmi.
Tutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchāmi.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchāmi.
Tutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchāmi.
Tatiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchāmi.
Tisaranang gamanang nititaṃ.
Amapante
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adhinādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinādāna veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kāmesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kāmesu miccacara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musāvāda veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musāvāda veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Suramera Macha Bhamaradhana Veramani Sikhabadang Samadhiyami.
Suramera Yamajapamadatthana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami.
Do you also want to do it in Chinese by yourself?
Okay. 我求受不杀生戒，我求受学习不偷盗戒，我求受学习不邪淫戒，我求受学习不妄语戒，我求受学习不饮酒，不迷失自性戒。
Imani Pancha Sikhapadani Silena Sukatinyanti Silena Boga Sampadam Silena Niputinyanti Tasama Silang Visodaye.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let's bow 3 times. First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Now let us request for Dhamma Talk.
Brahma Jaloka Thik Bhakti Sahang Bhakti Các tan Jali An Thik Wak Rang Aya Jak Thak Santi Thak Sak Ta Bak Rak Jak Khak Jatika Thế Se Thu Thang Mang Anugang Big Mang Bak Jiang.
Namo Dasa Bhagavato Narahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Dasa Bhagavato Narahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Dasa Bhagavato Narahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. Good evening into the internet world. Good evening to Singapore, Malaysia, and wherever you are tuning in. You hear me, I guess?
Yeah, we can hear.
You tuned out, right? Okay. Yeah, I want to establish a connection first. That I'm not feeling really just speaking to the computer. So, yeah, Ajahn Chagino invited me again, another week, another Wednesday, to give some support to Singapore, Malaysia. And he told me that the COVID situation kind of worsened in Singapore. Is that correct?
Yeah, now we have go back to phase 2, so we have limitation to 5 people gathering. Yes, because the new strain is quite virulent.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's terrible, but it's all over the world. You're not alone. It seems that every country kind of, one after another has kind of troubles again. In Thailand, we were basically the whole year. Last year we were safe, and now we are also in bigger trouble than before. So, but that will pass also, as you know. It comes and goes. Troubling times. We are all in this together. Wherever we are in the world right now, literally everybody is involved in this mess. But taxing times can also be opportunity, as you probably know yourself, that we can come out of it a little bit more wise, a little bit stronger, if we apply the right wisdom to the situation.
we will, in times of danger, we normally get tested, especially in our consistency of our virtue. I just gave the 5 precepts to you, the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts. But did I really give them to you? You might wonder why I say this, because here in Thailand, there is kind of this belief that the monk gives the 5 precepts in the ceremony, and I basically transfer the 5 precepts onto you. But you as good Buddhists probably know that this is not the case. So you have to develop the 5 precepts, the training rules for yourself. But as a Westerner in Thailand, as a Western monk especially, it's quite amusing to see that belief. So they come to the monastery, they ask for the 5 precepts like you just did. And yeah, they do it also every week on one Phra, on this Buddha day, on the Uposatha days. They come and ask for the 5 precepts. Then the monks, we do the ceremony like we did just now, and then they're happy. But they had no, I don't say everybody, but many of them have no intentions of actually keeping the precepts. They just want a kind of this 5 precepts blessing from the monk, and then they feel safe. They did their Buddhist thing and they feel okay with that. And this is funny to observe, sad in a way, but also funny. So you teach them, dear lay people, do you understand actually what the 5 precepts are? What does it entail? Why do we keep them? What's the benefits? What are the drawbacks of not keeping them? So some people you have to really teach the basics. The same applies with giving the blessing from the monk. You know, every day before the meal, we give a blessing, the anumodana, our joy, our rejoicing in the merit, in the good deeds of other people. What is mudita? The development of mudita. So we rejoice in the good deeds of other people, of the people who gave us food in the morning. But also many Thai lay people perceive this as, also in Thai it's called rap porn. Rap means to receive and porn is the blessing. So they want to receive that blessing from the monk as a kind of a holy spiritual power which I bestow on these people, or we monks bestow on these people. I don't know about that. Maybe there is a truth to it. Definitely there are some positive thoughts we monks give to you, metta thoughts. There is a power, definitely, a tangible power. But the blessing itself is the good deed they already did, which is the giving of the food to the monks or any donations they give. So this you have to teach again and again, because then, especially with the 5 precepts, some Kruba Ajahns tell stories. You might have heard of, there are some Dhamma tours. So, you know, lay people, let's say in Bangkok, get a bus together, 30, 50, 60 people, whatever, a big group, and searching out for some monasteries to make some merit. And then on a weekend, and they have on their schedule, let's say 10 monasteries they want to visit in 2 days. And every monastery they go to, they ask for the precepts. So in the morning, 8 o'clock, they come to, let's say, Wat Nong Papong in Ubon. They ask the precepts from Luang Por Liam, and they get the precepts. They get their blessing, and half an hour later, they rush to the next monastery, to the next Kruba Ajahn, to the next big teacher, and ask again for the precepts, because they think, you know, that's what you need to get that Dhamma blessing from the Ajahn. So this is quite amusing. So some Kruba Ajahns, they tell them, no, I'm not giving you the precepts again today. If you cannot even from 8 o'clock till 9 o'clock keep the 5 precepts, then you're hopeless. Then it is of no value actually of receiving the precepts from the monk. You have no right intention to do that. So, but I don't say that you're doing, I just want to tell you that this is a common perception in Thailand. Maybe some you of Asian origin might have some similar conclusions about 5 precepts and the blessings. Excuse me. I have some stomach problems today. My mouth is dry. I took some medicine. I hope I don't have to go to the toilet in the middle of the talk. So please forgive me if I have to rush, but it feels good until now. So giving the 5 precepts, receiving the 5 precepts, but most importantly, doing the 5 precepts, keeping the 5 precepts. We can actually not say doing the 5 precepts because the 5 precepts are non-doings. They are non-doings. They are actions which we want to avoid, which we tell us not to do anymore. From this moment on, we took the precepts because it has a reason why we take the precepts, because we have some sattha, some conviction in the Buddha's teachings. And the Buddha tells us this is the foundation to keep the silas, to purify our conduct in body and speech first. This is the basis of all Buddhist practice. So we have to train ourselves to not do these actions, because naturally in people who have defilements, like most of us do, there are normal reactions to outward triggers, to situations, to act in certain ways. Let's say we get threatened, or we perceive threat from another person or from an animal, and then we react with killing that being out of our fear, out of our anger, and then we kill. So we transgress the first precept, the panatipata, not to take out any living beings, not to take life away from a being, which is his most treasured possession. Like we also feel with ourselves, we don't want to get killed, so we try also not to kill any living being. Many of us might have not been in the situation to get tempted to the point of wanting to kill, but some of us, many of us, I would argue, had this situation, right? Even killing human beings. There are some potential situations where you really could get tempted. There's some bad behavior out there in the world. But more likely and easier for us to do is killing killing animals, right? For food, for fun, because they annoy us, you know? Like I even see some monks here and there on my wandering tours, which disappoints me quite a bit, who still swat mosquitoes. And they're not even ashamed about it. Yeah, I don't want to criticize any monks, but this is a coarse behavior for a monk. And they don't even know that this is maybe unwholesome. But especially seeing lay people coming first time to Thailand. Yeah, let's say my family once came a few years ago, the first time into Thailand, and we are living basically in the jungle in a tropical climate, and there's a lot of mosquitoes, and they bother us. But as good Buddhists who take the 5 precepts, or monks who have a little bit more precepts to follow, we try not to kill these beings. We try not to squash and hit mosquitoes. There are other ways. For example, we could just blow them away. That's my method, right? Or just brush them away. But this needs mindfulness in the first place. If you're not aware, you just react. And exactly that's why the Buddha puts the emphasis on these 5 precepts, because they are the coarsest actions we human can do with the most dire consequences. Outside, the dogs are barking. Excuse our dogs. They obviously don't like the topic. Now they're silent again. Our dogs, as cute as they are, here and there they like to kill, even if they get enough food every day from the monks. They still like to kill for fun even. That's what animals do. They follow their instincts. They have no choice of deciding what action is wholesome, what action is unwholesome. They just have to follow their instincts. It's a natural reaction. They see, let's say a cat sees a mouse, and in the next moment, she has to stalk it. She has to see it as prey. She's conditioned that way. And then she goes for it, plays with it, and finally tries to kill it and eat it. And sometimes not even kill it. Just for the killing's sake, because it's fun. Hunting is fun. But we humans live a special life because we are in that position, and the Buddha said this, in the best position for liberation from all suffering, because we have the capacity, the mind capacity, to differentiate between wholesome and unwholesome actions in body, speech, and mind. And this makes us special beings. It doesn't have to get into our head. I'm not teaching kind of this new agey thing that we're all special. You're special. I'm special. No, human birth is special. We are lucky that we get this lifetime. And on top of it, we encountered the Buddha's teachings, which is something even more special. And look at the world, how many people hear about the Buddha Dhamma, about the Dhamma Vinaya, who's coming in contact with that teaching, that special teaching. For some of us, it also took half a lifetime or even nearly a complete lifetime until we get the word of the Buddha into our ears and then understand it and make sense of it and gain confidence in the teachings and are brave enough to follow the path. Like we all do while tuning in tonight, to get some information about the Dhamma, to apply it to our own lives. So animals, they follow their instincts. Humans, if they are not trained, if they don't know about this potential of seeing intentions in the mind as wholesome and unwholesome, these people also follow their instincts. And that's exactly what I'm talking about with the 5 precepts as the most crucial fence of our behavior. It kind of feels it goes against the instincts to not kill when we are threatened. Let's say when our life is threatened, not to kill that person who attacks us, right? Or when we see something nice, something shiny, a gold chain or a new whatever phone another person possesses, and we don't have it, but we would like to have it because we like to have nice things, we could just take it, which would be stealing, the 2nd precept. You could argue it's a kind of a natural reaction. Oh, I want that, I take it. It's easy as that. But that action creates conflict in the world, as I don't have to explain how and why, but it also has an impact on our own mind, on the quality of our own mind. These actions, which we call evil, unwholesome, bad actions, bad intentions, they have consequences on the quality, on the well-being of our mind and their habit forming. So going against these urges, these natural, I call natural, instinctive, I call natural. The kilesas are kind of natural, right? They are there, we are born with them. We have them from many, many, many uncountable lifetimes. We have them. So we are born in this human condition with the defilements. Some have more of them, some have less. Or let's say to different degree, to different intensity. Because some people practiced in last lives before. They purified their conduct and mind, for that matter, to a certain degree already. And they have less thick defilements layered on top of their mind. So these natural tendencies come up in certain situations. When kilesa, like greed or hatred, like anger, is activated in the heart, then we would normally just follow that instinct. Oh, we are hungry, so we go kill that deer. But the Buddha gives us instructions, tells us this is no good. Bad karma, bad actions, unwholesome actions have bad consequences for you and for other people in terms of suffering, of stress, of dissatisfaction, of non-well-being, of dis-ease. And if you don't like to have suffering and stress and dis-ease, then you should not engage in these actions, because the consequences are immense and can be long-lasting. So this we have to take on faith first when we hear about the Buddha's teachings the first time. Something resonates in our heart. Yeah, this makes sense. We think about it. Also logical, it makes sense. And then we try to practice them. And then we see how our conduct changes, our mind state, our well-being, how suffering gets a little bit less, how we get perceived as kinder people in the outside world from other people. One of my teachers, Ajahn Jayasaro, he always speaks about that the 5 precepts are like a wedge between our impulses and our actions. So we have the impulse in the mind, we are angry, we want to retaliate, we want to hit a person or to answer back in a not so nice way. And then there's the action which follows, right? There's the intention and then there's this action. But the 5 precepts is a kind of a wedge. So we make a little bit space between the intention and the action which follows afterwards. And in the beginning, that wedge is really, really small because we have no mindfulness yet. And this, we could argue, is sila nusati, the mindfulness of the precepts. Or let's say one aspect of sila nusati. We keep the precepts in mind, especially when we take them in a ceremony like that. Yeah, we try to keep them in mind, and not just for the ceremony's sake. We just did now, right? We did all this fuss, all this nice chanting, and this nice bowing, but we really have to make an, I don't want to use the word oath, but a determination to really try to train myself not engage in these actions. So, and when we keep during the day in the back of our mind, especially with every engagement with another human being or with another being, these 5 non-actions in mind, these not to do actions, not killing, not stealing, not cheating, when you're in a relationship, like no sexual misconduct, no false speech, no lying, basically, and not taking intoxicants in any way. These 5 precepts we keep in the background of our mind, and then sometimes we bring them to the forefront of our awareness and contemplate them and review our conduct, let's say during the day or the last week, right? Let's say now we meet Wednesday evening again. Last Wednesday evening, we talked or you listened to me. So it's 7 days in between. How was your conduct? Where were your problems? Evaluate your engagement in the world. Are you blameless? Do you transgress some? So then you see if you're developing or not, or where you have problems and where not, where to improve and where not. So this wedge of mindfulness of these precepts becomes bigger, becomes stronger, broader. That means the time between when an intention, an unwholesome intention comes up in the mind And the start, the beginning of an action of speech and body gets bigger. We have more time, we have more space to observe, to analyze if that's an wholesome or an unwholesome intention we want to follow into action. And this is one part, a big part of the practice, everyday practice. Don't just think we have to sit there and, analyze painful feelings or watch the breath or taking a meditation word until it disappears. That's one part of the practice, but also a supporting big foundational part of the practice is to train in these precepts. Please don't overlook them. Don't look down on them. This was a tendency of mine as a fresh Buddhist 20 years ago, that I kind of didn't take them so seriously. I just wanted to get, good meditational states. It's 20 years ago, but maybe I interpret a little bit too bad traits into myself. But I think I was not really taking them so seriously because I failed many, many times and abandoned the practice altogether. Because, when you start to drink alcohol again, for example, everything crashes down. The quality of mind cannot be maintained on the level where you actually can progress in meditation very much. But you see, in the beginning, we don't have this mindfulness established. In the beginning, we don't have it at all. We don't see that there actually is a space between intention and action which follows. This we have to broaden. This we have to train ourselves. This is mindfulness. The ABC of mindfulness. To see the intentions, to evaluate them as wholesome, unwholesome, and then choose to act or not to act, to restrain our behavior. With khanti, with perseverance, to let that urge dissolve. It will create a physical feeling inside. It will stir up the mind, let's say a feeling of anger. But if we make the strong determination in the 5 precepts, or even the more refined precepts, which we can take then on top of it, or we have to take on top of it, we have to purify our conduct and make it more and more beautiful, more and more subtle. We go into subtle areas of misconduct, which cannot be solved, the subtle areas of our conduct, when the cause problems are not checked yet. If I cannot abstain from taking from other people whatever I like, or ever think, oh, I can take because it's beautiful, then it will be difficult to observe your breath. It's that simple. You have to restrain your physical and verbal behavior to a degree that it doesn't stir up the mind. And when we do that for a certain period of time, we try hard. This is the training. Training is never easy. Nobody said it's going to be easy. For everybody, it's hard to train themselves. For me, it was definitely hard. Maybe harder than for all of you. But I kind of did something right because I ended up here as a monk. And I'm still practicing on purifying my conduct. But here and there, I see that some coarseness, which I had back in the days, is minimized, is diminished. And in some cases, really doesn't come up often anymore. And this is due to the training. That's the cause. So I encourage you to really take these 5 training precepts seriously and rejoice in it. Here I can say you are a special person, you are a special being on this planet. That you came to the conclusion that changing your behavior, keeping these 5 precepts is of value for you and the world and other people around you, your family members. I mean, I don't have to tell you, I guess. You all know that it's good. Good for yourself and good for other people, especially in your close circle. They feel the difference after a while if you do the earnest practice. They come and congratulate you. Wow, you changed. You are a nicer person. They can trust you more because you are not engaging in lies so much anymore. So your speech becomes more beautiful. This is underlying. There's more trust in your speech because you purified it and other people feel that. You don't have to brag about it, they will feel it. And that's your proof that it's a real power in the world, the purity of sila, of precepts, of virtue. Rejoice in it, really rejoice in it. Look back on your behavior, like let's say the last 6 months, the year, whatever, yesterday, today, looking back, patisankhara yoniso, we reflect back on our conduct. And when we do that, and we see we didn't big time transgress these training precepts, then a joy, a happiness comes up in the mind. And this the Buddha calls anavacha sukha, the happiness of blamelessness. And this is a really, really special quality of happiness. And there you get your first proof of that, of the miracle teaching of the Buddha, of that power of the Dhamma, the power of sila itself. Just that foundation, which is for everybody to witness, to apply, and then get the results quite quickly. I mean, I remember when I was a Buddhist. I was a Buddhist quite a long time before I became a monk. I think 10 years or something, 9 to 10 years. And I had my problems with the 5 precepts. So I was playing a holy man for a few months, and then I dropped back to my old ways. And yeah, my mind state also dropped, and dukkha, suffering, came like a tsunami back into my life until I couldn't stand it anymore. So I got back on track and starting to take the 5 precepts seriously again. But the last time I did it, I would say I kept them as much as I could, but I took them seriously. And it was 10 years ago in the year I ordained, before I ordained. And I went to a monastery, did a kind of a self-retreat, and then had some good experiences. And then I said, no, I really have to practice the proper teaching, all the Buddha's teachings, and not just samadhi. Like, I really have to take this precept seriously. And where do I fail? I have to make amends. And that I did. And from that moment on, I had to make this decision with full saddha, with full conviction. Then my life gradually changed. It was a matter of weeks. I would say even days. I felt better myself. I immediately felt that anavacha sukha. Wow, I changed. I made a decision for change in my life, and that immediately affected my mind, affected my life. I came home from that monastery stay, and my family, they sensed I was changed again for the positive. So, and this gives you kind of a feedback, a positive feedback, which makes you happy again. This is kind of a wholesome pride, which gets developed. Some of my monks friends don't like when I use the word pride, but yeah, wholesome pride. You are happy about yourself, about your conduct. You have no blame in that area, right? If you're in a relationship, the temptation to cheat comes up. You're not doing it. You decided not to do. But everybody who was in this situation knows raga, desire, sexual desire, or even love, how tempting that is. And then to have the strength, the character of mind to say, no, I'm not engaging in that act. And when you come to the other end, when the lust dissipates, and sometimes seconds later, after you did this decision, sometimes days later. It depends on the intensity of your desire, but it will dissipate. It will go away. And then when you didn't follow an impulse, this is just not for that precept, but for all defilements. If one defilement comes up and you go against it, you fight, you take up a fight. It's like a boxing match. You or me, like one goes down here today. You fight. Not with all precepts, you have to use the same tenacity, but with the most of them, you really have to make a statement here. No, I'm not budging. I'm not giving in. Willpower, kanti, endurance. And then when you do that, when you apply that and you come out and you win the fight, your enemy kilesa, let's say in this example, sexual desire fades away, runs away, retreats, because you hit it on the nose quite hard, and then you gain power. And that is for everybody to experience, because then you gain this true faith in the silas, in the teaching of the Buddha in general, because you applied it to your own mind and you got the results of a more powerful mind, of a more happy mind. You feel better because in that act you diminished the power of that specific defilement, let's say of lust in this case. The more you don't act on this negative impulse, on this unwholesome impulse, the more it shrivels away. You kind of starving it out in a way. Yeah? Just through this practice, we cannot get rid of the root of the problem yet, but this is the first. This is the first step. We have to draw nourishment from them, that they have not so much strength, that they are not every single day and night overwhelm our mind and put us into a situation where we are going with an unwholesome action and we receive the vipaka, we receive the effect, the negative effect of that unwholesome action, and then we suffer again. And in suffering, it is hard to practice, to develop more goodness. So that's why we have to build up more and more conviction in this fighting process of virtue, and gain power with every single day. We are not reacting on impulses, on our animal nature, instincts, power of defilements. We go against them and then we gain power, and that power feels so good. It makes us joyous, it makes us happy, it makes us love ourselves anymore. That's what I witnessed. I just loved myself more from one day to another. I was not ashamed of myself anymore. Some people who engage in a lot of unwholesome actions, they are deeply, deeply inside, they are actually ashamed of themselves. They know it. And this shame makes them even more angry, makes them even more protective, and therefore engaging in unwholesome actions. It is really a bad cycle. But once you make this determination to come out of it and follow the practice, do the foundational work of purifying sila and practicing samadhi and panya on top of it, then things come together. But today I'm speaking specifically about virtue, about the sila. We have to look back to reflect on our conduct and make this anavacca sukha as much as possible arise in our mind. Some argue it is always there, underlying, yes, but it's not, we are not really aware of that underlying joy and happiness of being blameless. It's not all the time there. Let's say, basically it's not all the time there. So the Buddha wants us to reflect back on our conduct. Am I blameless? Especially for us monks, we have also an extra practice. We have kind of 10 reflections a good monk should do every day. And one also concerns about our conduct in the Vinaya of the Buddha. Is my conduct in the Vinaya, is it blameworthy? Do I Do I feel shame if I would have to tell my companions in the holy life on my deathbed what my conduct actually really was? Would I regret these actions? And if you still have regret as a monk, then you should change that. Make amends for it, confess of transgressions of monastic rules, and try to avoid them the next time doing them again. And that's the path to purification for monks. But the same applies also to lay people, but you have less rules. But these 5 are the basics. This is the foundation, the Buddha said, of the practice, of the 3 pillars of Buddhist practice: Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. And we don't have to be purified in Sila to then go to the next step of then meditating. And when we are reaching the 4th jhana and are proficient in the 4th jhana, then we go to the Panya work, to the Vipassana work. I think that's not how it should be done. And in the suttas, it's also clear cut. It is, it is a dynamic practice. We have to work on many fronts simultaneously. But as you probably, many of you know, when you go against the precepts, you feel ashamed because you made that vow, you made that determination of developing strength and keeping these precepts, this way of conduct, that fence I don't want to cross. This is the fence. I'm going until that fence with my actions, right? Let's say with not lying, in some situations you really have come to really close to the fence. Like you don't have to tell the truth all the time. This is also a misunderstanding, right? You don't have to go around and tell what's on your heart all the time. People think you're crazy. But the rule says we should not misrepresent the truth. If someone asks you about the truth, you should tell him the truth, or you can be silent. There's no rule saying you have to answer him. But when you answer, you should not misrepresent the truth. There are skillful ways of avoiding harm and embarrassment in some ways. That is a skill to develop. But that is my fence. I'm not gonna engage in a lie, even a white lie. This we train ourselves. It is not easy. I know that. It is not easy, but that's what the truth is. The Buddha wants us to get a feeling of purification in our minds. That we look back and there's no blame in my physical conduct and in my speech conduct. And that feels good. It makes the heart malleable, subtle, happy. And with that mind state, then we can sit down in meditation and practice samadhi meditation. Right? This I would even recommend people to, when we're sitting down, then to first reflect on these positive things we did, let's say, right? There are more reflections the Buddha wants us to develop, and we can choose from a multitude of different mindfulness practices. Many people don't know about these practices. Like in the beginning, I said about Sila Nusati, right? We are contemplating, as I just explained, our conduct, the Sila we kept, and that should result in at least a small feeling of satisfaction with our conduct. And that small seed of satisfaction can be developed. And we go deeper inside and see actually, wow, I'm blameless. I'm more and more blameless. I don't have much regrets like back in the days anymore. I feel more, in Thai we say sabai, at ease with myself. And when you contemplate that happiness can grow into piti. And that piti makes relaxation and coolness in the body. And we are ready to engage in meditation. We don't have much, hindrances coming up. We don't have much bodily pains coming up because we are relaxed and happy, and the mind is malleable. It's ready to be worked. And that's a mind state we have to get before we start this technical methodology of meditation many of us engage in. We all know how it feels when you start with a normal mind state, which is normally not so good. Oh, today, okay, now it's 6 o'clock, I have to sit down, meditation. So we sit down, close our eyes, and then try to focus on the breath. But the mind doesn't want to do it. It just wants to think and is not ready for work. It is not happy to work. It doesn't see the benefit of it right now. So we have to use some methods, some strategies to get the mind to the proper position that we can now do the work of calming. And the Buddha gives us many strategies, and I would recommend everybody to start to read the suttas, the original teachings of the Buddha, the Pali suttas, the Tripitaka, especially the suttas. There you find many techniques you might have never heard about, many strategies the Buddha said you can develop. Yeah. Another one is Chaganusati. You are developing mindfulness, recollection, is the better word here, recollection of your own good deeds, of your own generosity. Chaga means to give up, to give, right? All what we do, the merit making we do, this is chaga, this is giving up. Or it's also called dana, right? It's the same principle. And when we recollect that, oh, last week, I helped someone, I helped a relative here who was in need, especially in these bad times. Many people go broke, lose their businesses, lose their job, have no money. Maybe some of you people saw some suffering and tried to help, helped, went to the monastery, supported some monks, or working in meditation centers for free, giving up your time, giving up your energy. This is chaga. And when you contemplate that, you should get this same happy feeling. But that provides that you actually did something good. You can not just contemplate your goodness when you actually have not accumulated some goodness. So you need some bullets of goodness before. You need some good store of it. So these are kind of practices I would recommend to get some skill in, especially before meditation, also during the day, before sleeping, that you're not have to sit down and fight that mind to stay with the breathing of the meditation object for so long. And this is really unnecessary. So through some strategic, intelligent, wise thought processes, you can make the mind already quiet to the extent that you can then be more focused on, let's say, body sensation or the breath. So I see the time is running fast today. Yeah, I think I come to an end with the Dhamma Talk. We have 8 more minutes. I would like to hear you maybe have a question or something you could ask next 8 minutes if you want to. Hello, Singapore.
Ajahn, thank you so much for the teaching. So far in NDR, there's no questions. Yeah.
Okay.
You can ask in the Facebook if anyone want to ask the questions. Ajahn, why not I ask a question for myself? Because I've been trying to keep the sila, but I don't have the determinations like Ajahn can be saying no. Okay, then I will stop doing it. So for the people with weak determination, what kind of suggestion can you give?
Yes, I mean, you're not alone. Don't feel bad about that. We all experience that. So that's why the Buddha said it's training rules, right? They are not commandments like in Christian teachings. right? There are commandments, you have to follow them or you go to hell or whatever they believe. They are training rules, and this is really clever from the Buddha. Even for monks, they are called training rules. We train our conduct in them, that we fail in the beginning or even in the middle or in old age, or when we do them long time. That's up to the individual, but it's a kind of expected. We should get more wise, but we should recognize the failure, right? You just basically said that you got a kind of confessed that you transgressed some precepts, but you don't feel good about it. But the good thing is that you are honest about it, that I see and other people see that you want to improve, that you ask for now strategies. How can you improve that, right? There's not an easy answer for that, but the underlying principle of getting better, of furthering understanding and faith in that, in keeping the precepts, is to not, how to say it, to contemplate more and more the drawbacks of every transgression, of every precept. When I engage in that action, what are the consequences? And you have to really contemplate it. That is a reflection you have to do often. It's not just one time you do it. Yes, I have understood killing is bad, blah, blah, blah. That's it. No, you have to reflect all the time, as much as you can. The drawbacks, to see other people engaging in these actions and see the consequences for their life, to see the consequences for their family, to see the consequences for their country. And when you see that, you get repelled, like, what? I'm doing the same? Bad. That's disgusting. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be perceived like that. So a wholesome hiri ottappa, a wholesome shame and compunction arises then when we see that, when we contemplate it. But that doesn't just fall from the sky. We have to really contemplate these things. So these are the drawbacks the Buddha wants us to see of bad actions. And really make these consequences big in your mind. You really have to believe them, like, wow, okay, this is dangerous. When I engage in this action, I know, I see it in other people, I have experience in my own life before, the consequences are not good. I might get a little gain or a big gain, but long term, I will have regret in my mind. Do I want to live with that, right? But let's go to not so serious things like alcohol drinking, right? I don't want to say not serious, but you know, compared to killing, it is of not so high consequence. But especially with the drinking, when we are drunk, we are likely to engage in all or break all the other 4 precepts, as we all know how easy that can be if we ever were drunk or intoxicated with any other drug. You have no mindfulness. And then you wake up the next morning with a hangover and you feel regret. You're ashamed. Some people have the urge of killing themselves. They are so ashamed what they did when they were drunk. Embarrassed to the bone. I'm not doing it again. And then they're getting drunk again. And then you cannot control your behavior. Your animal instincts come out and you just follow it. So that is one strategy I would recommend, to make these negative drawbacks more and more. You feel them more and more alive in you. And on the other hand, also making the positive outcome of keeping precepts. What I just did, that was the purpose of my talk, to give you more encouragement, more information, more perspectives on how to see that goodness in you and how to make it big in you, how to generate happiness of your own right conduct in you. This also comes just through reflection, that you reflect on your own conduct. This is one strategy. And the next one is definitely, the next advice is to meditate more, because the more you meditate, the more you engage in mindfulness or samadhi meditation, the more happiness you get out of the inner happiness. The more happiness grows from inside. And that is detrimental to the happiness from the sense world we get. It is a completely different end of the happiness spectrum. And when you gain that higher quality happiness from inside, then more and more you incline to the virtues naturally. And the more and more this hiri ottappa, this positive, wholesome shame and compunction towards doing something bad, transgressing the precepts, gets less. you get less tempted. And then you see that the power of the kilesas gets step by step, it diminishes. But you need also a happiness which is of higher quality, the Buddha said. And in a particular quote, I think, when I remember correctly, he means the jhanas, the happiness of jhana, or let's say samadhi, of a calm mind, or any dhamma piti, dhamma sukha, which is of higher quality than the happiness we get from the sensual realm. And if people are not meditating, just like, let's say, casual faith Buddhists, like many Asians are, they're not meditating, they're not developing mindfulness, they just rely on that willpower to not engage, on their faith and willpower to not transgress the precepts. And this is hard work, as you know, to keep up willpower all the time. I know it for myself, it's quite hard. But if you gain a higher happiness, the Buddha says, in form of samadhi, of panya, the inside happiness from a stilled mind, from a wise mind, even a little bit, even let's say 10 minutes or even 1 minute. But if you had it once, you experience that peace of mind, that happiness, which is of undescribable difference to that. It's a different quality. It's even, you could even not use the word happiness. You could invent a new word, but the Buddha used the same word of sukha. So we also use happiness, but it's happiness of relief of bad impulses in our minds. And that feels extremely good, relieving. And when you gain that happiness, the Buddha said the higher quality happiness, then it's easy to let go of that lower, coarser happiness. But if you don't have it, then not long time, the Buddha himself said, you are quite likely to go back to that coarse happiness of the sensual realm and basically breaking a bunch of precepts to get that happiness. And then you are in dire straits again. So then you're in suffering again and you regret. Even if you tell yourself, I'm not regretting, you regret, especially when you already came to the stage in your life where you practiced the Dhamma already, where you took the precepts and tried to manage them. Then there's basically no going back. You will always feel that, no, this is not good, this is the wrong path. Unless you didn't have really faith in the Buddha's teaching at all, but this is obviously not the case. So I think we are running out of time here, it's 32. So that's all that short time I can give you advice. I hope it was of benefit a little bit what I told you all today.
Yes,
And
it's very encouraging. Thank you so much, Ajahn. Let's bow 3 times. First bow. Second bow. Third bow.
yes, all my good wishes and blessing down to Singapore, Malaysia, wherever you are tuning in. And I hope you are making good use of that time, especially when you are in a kind of lockdown, probably somewhere in your room. You can also take it as a meditation retreat by yourself. So you can just change perspectives and go deeper in the Dhamma, which you in your regular old life, let's say pre-2020 life, would probably not have much opportunity to. So yeah, we monks do the same. And yeah, I wish you all well down there and maybe see you one day again. All my best wishes. Anumodana.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami
สุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามิ
3 more times for our Krupa Ajahns.